locked in, and let's go.
Hey guys, it's Dave DeRocher. It's Hawk Talk, and we're back. We've been off for a few weeks. You know, that little game called the Super Bowl, and had a great time. I won't bore you with all the escapades that went on in New Orleans last week, but we had a great time. We were on Radio Row interviewing people. We're throwing up some of the interviews. I was with my partners at Sideline Sports, the guys that helped us launch this thing, and so we had a great time and great events. But now we're back, and Walter's going to run a little bit late. You guys know he's coaching softball with his wife, so it'll be interesting to see tonight. I think it was their season opener. We'll see how they did, and we'll see if he's still married. Because I think there's two things you don't want to do with your wife. One is golf and try and teach her to golf. The other one is like back up a boat or a trailer. So we'll see how coaching is going for him. Anyhow. But we do have a special guest from the original Hawks 1976 season. Played, I think, 10 years in the league. We'll talk to him about that. Mr. Bob Newton is going to join us. And I think he's on offensive. You were O-line, right?
Yes.
Well, so hey, the show cannot get any better. When you have two old linemen, talking about football, that's going to be good stuff.
You bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us what it was like. But so you started out. What team did you start out with?
I started out with the Bears, the Chicago Bears, in 1971 was my rookie year.
Okay.
And I was with them 5 years, and then things started just going bad, and I wanted to change, and and I asked to be put on waivers on the last cut of the 75 training camp or 76 training camp. And fortunately, I got picked up pretty quick by the Seahawks. And, ironically, the Bears had played Seattle in an exhibition game in Cheney earlier in camp. And I saw that stadium. It was I think it was in Spokane. Mm-hmm. And it was a little tiny stadium. And I go, God, this is all I didn't know where in the hell Seattle was from Spokane. And so I'm going, God, boy, this Seattle Seahawks organization is really starting on the bottom here, man. And then we play the game, and half our guys had to get dressed outside because they didn't have enough lockers.
Right.
Back in those days, you could carry about 120 guys on a roster, man.
Right.
But anyway, one thing I said on the plane coming back from that exhibition game when I still was Chicago against Seattle, I said, things aren't going very good here in Chicago, but at least I'm not with the Seattle Seahawks. And my butt was on a plane to Seattle 2 weeks later.
So two things come to mind. First of all, you play with like one of the most historic teams, and then you go to a team that had no history at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I shared with you when we were talking before we hopped on the show that I live in Mission Viejo. Very similar story, Bob. I grew. So you're familiar with Glendora. You were born in Pomona, although you weren't raised there, but you know where Glendora is. I went to San Diego State.
Uh-huh.
So, on the weekend or the holidays or whatever it was, and I drive down the 5 to San Diego, and assuredly, it didn't matter if it was a Tuesday or a Saturday, Sunday, whatever day it was, I would always bottleneck right at the 405, in Irvine, and I'd look up and I'd see the sign, Mission Viejo. And I go, I am never living in Mission Viejo because there's too many dang people. I've been here 8 years. It's been a blast. So
there you go. I can relate.
The plane flight to Seattle. Oh boy, here we go.
I was saying, God, my, and then when I got picked up on waivers, I go, and I'm on the plane going to Seattle. I go, God, how bad is my career going to get now? I'm going to a freaking expansion team, But it was awesome.
Yeah,
I'm so grateful I got to play with the Seahawks.
So now here's a question I should know the answer to, but I don't, or maybe I did know it and I forgot. I'm 60 and concussed, but did they build the Kingdome then for the Hawks?
Yeah, the Kingdome was already built and developed, and that was our home stadium, and
Yeah.
We played in it that whole year in '76.
So it was brand new. I played in it in '88 and '89.
Yeah,
So it was starting to get a little long in the tooth, but I mean, as far as
yeah,
stadiums go, I mean, it's still relevant. But so
yeah.
at least that part of it, at least when you got there, you recognized you weren't stuck in Cheney. Seattle's
No,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
I had a lot of misperceptions, and I got to the train. They picked me up at the hotel on Monday, and they took me to the training camp in Kirkland. Of course, they've moved since then, but
Yeah.
it was right on Lake Washington. It was beautiful.
Beautiful.
And we'd been in Soldiers Field for the last 5 years, and all kinds of issues, man, playing it. So it was an old stadium, but everything was new, and the weight room was really nice, and the lockers and everything. And the Nordstrom family did a great job uh, putting the organization together initially. They
Well,
really did.
yeah. So when I got up there in '88, they had all I heard about were the horror stories of camp in Cheney,
Oh yeah,
and the heat and the absolute lack of anything to do or whatever it was, which was probably part of the brilliance, putting those guys out there and
yeah.
keeping them away from trouble. Well, I was part of the Ken Behring years where we were,
Oh yeah.
we were staying in dorms on a college campus. The weight room was, I mean, my weight room at San Diego State was better than the
Yeah.
weight room, for a professional team. So kind of like you, I walk in and go, really? Really? I thought,
Uh-huh.
I expected a lot more. Just come to find out, it was kind of a hiatus.
What was your first year, Dave, with them?
It
With the
was '88.
Seahawks? 88.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Because when did Ken Berry? Ken Behring, I know he took over.
yeah. He
Uh,
purchased it from the Nordstroms for
yeah.
for a whopping $210 million.
God.
Yeah,
I think the Nordstrom family bought the franchise initially for like 14 million or something like that.
and then they bought it back from him because he and Chuck did not get along. So we're sitting at practice. It is the craziest thing. We're at practice and we hear this helicopter hovering over us, and
Uh,
we're like, this thing's coming down, you know, onto the practice field, and out bebops Ken Behring, with a couple of his buddies. Oh my gosh! If you know Chuck, um, he was
Knox?
less than pleased.
What, Chuck Knox?
Yes,
Yeah, I knew Chuck, not as I knew him as kind of a long distance friend. And I never got to play for him,
yeah.
but
But all
I
you
know
gotta do
he's
is
a good
spend
player.
5 minutes with him, and you could garner the reaction that, oh man,
Yeah,
it was not a good it was not a good relationship.
I bet. I
Yeah.
bet. Yeah,
So okay, so you get in Seattle, all right, not as bad as you think, and you got to play with cats like Zorn. I mean, some of the really
Largent.
Largent and that inaugural years. Was Edwin Bailey there? Or what year did he
No,
leave?
Edwin came in '81, I believe.
Okay,
He came 6 years later.
okay,
Uh, and then Sherman Smith was our running back, but Steve Largent, and he was an unknown.
yeah,
He was an unknown. We picked him. We I think we picked him off waivers from Houston, and
yep,
they had to make it. And he just came out of nowhere, and Jimmy, Jimmy was a real agile quarterback, could run, could throw, and they they hit it off pretty good. The first year, we only won 3 games, and I think the
well,
second year in '77 we won 5, and then we went 9-7 in '78, and we came very close to getting to the playoffs. We probably would have been in the playoffs in the system the way it is today
yeah,
at
with a
nine and
wild card.
seven.
That's what my rookie years. I think that was our record, 9-7.
Was it?
Beat the Raiders and went into the wild card against the Bengals. Back when they
Yeah,
made it to the Super Bowl and lost.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
it was typical, growing experience, and I think Jack Patura did a great job as head coach, uh, and we had some great assistant coaches, and I really enjoyed, even though we went through a lot of losing initially. I really enjoyed, and I kind of had a feeling that they were really heading in the right direction.
and then where'd you go after Seattle?
Well, I went into alcohol drug treatment. No, well,
Perfect.
well, I actually went into the USFL for about a year and a half, and then my drinking was out of control, Dave. And I went into rehab in July of 1983, and got clean and sober, and went back to school. And I've been working in that field, the alcohol drug field, ever since. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
I
they didn't have, back in those days, they didn't have a lot of intervention uh, processes available for players. A
right.
lot more now, I think, which is really good.
No, they do, Bob. So I'm the president of the NFLPA here, Orange County chapter, and I sit on the former players advisory board. I've been involved in it for about 6 years, and then I
Great.
also went through the NFL transition coach certification process, trying to help guys deal with a lot of the things that you dealt with.
Yeah.
And I've shared this, and I don't talk a lot about it on the show, but 10 years ago I was on a park bench. I had lost everything. I had knee surgery, and my buddy who was chief of staff agreed with me that I needed 300 Norcos a month
Oh
for 10
man.
months,
Yeah.
and that didn't turn out well. And
Oh, I
so
bet.
I've been able to align myself with guys like Randy Grimes and
Oh yeah.
some solid cats in the that gridiron greats that dealt with the same thing and have come across and come out on the other side of it. And now we're helping brothers that get
Oh, that's. I know a lot of NFL guys struggled with that, with the pain medications, and
yeah.
uh, I hope they got better restraints on it now. I hope.
Well, there's other modalities that are out there. Kyle Turley is a name. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah,
Kyle.
I know. Well, I know of Kyle.
Yeah.
No,
So he's an Aztec brother. I love him. He's a nut, complete nut, but
oh,
and not in a good way. You know what I mean? He's
yeah,
he's going to tell you what he's thinking, and
yeah,
he's attacked and come after the NFL on the opiates, and of
yeah,
course he touts THC as a cure
yeah,
for him, and it worked for him.
yeah, yeah,
And so he's a huge advocate. So there's a lot of guys, a lot of big names, big voices, saying, hey, look, it's not cool. We didn't know we got ourselves into, but now we're providing the information, mentorship, and support to guys,
yeah,
so they don't fall into the same trappings. So
absolutely. And
it's great to be able to say it, Bob, so other people hear it, that it's okay. I mean, if you're struggling, first thing you got to do is just say I'm struggling, and then you never know who's
right,
listening that was going to reach out and help you.
yeah. Randy Grimes is a good guy. I've known Randy for a while, and I know he's doing some good work. I I came really close to being an Aztec. Don Coryell was there when
Yeah.
they recruited me out of Cerritos Junior College, and I really liked him, and uh, came really close to going there. And Coach Osborne from Nebraska, though, he was a hard recruiter too, man,
Yeah.
and he convinced me to come back to that ice weather below zero.
How did
But it worked out.
yeah, so doggone it, San Diego State, the unfortunate thing they have going for it is the weather. The athletic department is a mess, always has been a mess. You're talking about Don Coryell. The other cats in that locker room were John Madden.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a Mount Rushmore.
Joe Gibbs. I
Joe
think Joe Gibbs.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
great coaches.
were you at Nebraska with Ferragamo?
No, I missed Vince by a few years. I know Vince was from out here, and I think he's back out here.
Oh no, he's in Anaheim Hills. Yeah,
Anaheim Hills. Yeah.
We're good friends. Yeah.
Are you? Yeah, I've met Vince, but
great guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think he started out at UCLA and then he transferred to Nebraska or vice versa or something like that.
something like that. And I know he's in Nebraska for a minute because he jokingly talks about how the heck a quarterback, a throwing quarterback got to Nebraska.
Yeah.
It was the last time
It's rare. It's pretty rare.
Yeah. And it's funny. So I played in the Hula Bowl in 88. So my senior year. And my roommate was Kevin Leitner. He was a goal lineman at Nebraska.
Oh, sure.
Offensive guard. And then we were teammates up in Montreal. After my stint in the NFL, which wasn't for very long, I played 2 years in the World League, which is kind of like your stint to the USFL, right?
Yeah.
Montreal together. And I go walking in my room and And there's Leitner. He's my roommate in Hawaii, and then he's my roommate now. And I don't know if you
Yeah.
follow him, but he's won like 8 like championships in Japan. He's been coaching in Japan.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I follow
Oh,
Kevin.
okay. He's got all these
See, when
rings, he's having a blast.
When I sobered up, I went back to Nebraska to finish my bachelor's degree, and Coach Osborne hired me as a graduate assistant coach, O-line coach for the freshmen. And Kevin was a freshman, so I got to.
Oh, how cool!
I was always impressed by his work habits and his love for football, and he's just done great, man. I follow him. He's won about 4 or 5 Super Bowls there in Japan, I think.
At least. So I'm taking a picture. I'm taking a picture of us. I'm going to send it to him.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good.
I'll tell him Coach said hey. So,
he's a great guy.
Just a very humble, great dude. We had a lot of weight room competitions.
Oh, I bet.
I mean that cat
huge,
bought a house, and I did pretty well on bench. So we would always we always have some friendly competition.
I bet.
So
weightlifting was pretty big at Nebraska in the 80s, boy.
Yeah.
Real big.
Yep. I mean, guys like Steinkühler and
Dean, yeah. Boyd Epley is one that started that Husker Power program, and it just really took off. And
that weight room was crazy. I remember seeing pictures of it going, why can't I have that?
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't hold back in weightlifting.
So Bob, what position on the O-line did you play?
I was a tackle at Nebraska, and then I was a guard in the pros. They moved me to guard my rookie year in Chicago. They moved me from left tackle to right guard, which I was very happy.
Yes.
That tackle position, man, you got to be a superstar.
Yeah.
Were you you were a tackle, weren't you, Dave?
So I was 6'7". Like when I was in Seattle, Chuck liked us a little smaller. So I was like 295. He won me under 300. It's funny. That's when we started getting letters going. Hey, guys, don't take steroids anymore. If you take steroids, you'll get suspended. Well, I show back up and I'm still 295. And as I'm sitting here today, I'm 305. My mom's 6'2" and dad's 6'7". We're big folk.
Yeah.
And all the guys like Brian Millard and EB and these guys are like, hey, DeRocher, didn't you get the letter? They're like down to 265. I'm like, bro, you need to meet my parents. I have just always been, once I started lifting, always been big. But just like you, I was right tackle just because of my size. And then they drafted Andy Heck and moved me to guard my second season. I loved it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Help on either side. I could just be big and just, mow people.
Yeah.
And then I got a fluky, like I was starting the first 3 games, and then I get a knee to my calf. It compartmentalized. I can't walk. And it's an injury that, it's still to this day, like an inch and a half bigger than my other calf. It's a chronic injury that really just could pop up at any time. And then I'm selling cars,
Yeah.
It was a
Sorry
tough
to hear that.
So then I go to Montreal. My last name is French, so they draft me. And then I was like 360. I'd been lifting, and doing eating and lifting, and so 360, and they stick me at left tackle.
Yeah.
That's not, you don't want to be 360 and left tackle. We're playing at Wembley Stadium, Bob, and I'm yelling, watch out
to the quarterback.
What else do you do? It was not
the lookout. That's the lookout block.
You don't want to be picking up your quarterback and his helmet sideways and his chin's cracked open and bloody.
Oh yeah. I can relate, man. I got my butt kicked by Jack Youngblood in the Senior Bowl. He was at right they're right deep, and I was at left tackle. And all we did at Nebraska is run the ball, man. And Dan Pastorini is our quarterback in the Senior Bowl, and we're doing a lot of drop back passing, and I'd never seen anybody come off the corner like that, like he could, man. And he just ate my butt up pretty good. But
Well,
I'm with you. I
here's
like being in the middle.
yeah, but
There's not as much space for those guys. Those guys now, even in our area, I mean, the athleticism they got, man.
oh, they're 6'5", 270 and run 4.640s.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So do you hunker down to stop the bull rush, or do you get on your toes a little bit, and because
Yeah.
they're gonna take the edge, they're gonna rip and take the edge, or they'll take you
Sure.
upfield and spin underneath because they're light on their feet.
Yeah,
I tell people, man, it is the hardest position in any sport is
yeah.
to play offensive
I
line.
agree. Well,
Most
that
unnatural, hardest position to play.
you got it. You got to be really athletic. And what's the guy? What was that movie? What was that
Oh yeah,
movie?
yeah. The
Backside or something like that. But
blindside.
Blindside,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That gave a lot of notice to the public, I think, of how crucial that position is.
Yeah, and then they started getting paid accordingly.
Yeah,
Hey,
which is
there's Walter.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Well, hey, so meet Bob. We're talking online play. So
hey, Walter,
How you doing, Bob?
pretty good, thank you.
So O-line action, huh?
yeah. So you're gonna sit kind of like when I sit when Paul Moyer was on the show, or when some of your DB brothers are on the show, and you guys are talking coverages and cover two and zone and whatever stuff. We were talking O-line. But since I got you, Walter, I was waiting on this topic. It's actually something that just came out.
Okay.
And I wore this shirt, so you guys might get an idea of where I might be going.
Bullying?
With no bullying. And it was 2014, which is your era, and that was the Bullygate and that Richie Incognito.
Yeah, yep, I remember that.
And Jonathan Martin. I don't know if you've heard, but Jonathan came out yesterday and said he was never bullied by Richie Incognito.
Yeah, I did see something about that yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were playing at that time, Walt.
Yep.
So what kind of a deal was that around the locker room, or was it even something that discussed by you guys, or even something you noticed?
Like what was going on in Miami?
Yeah.
So it's interesting too, because I have a DB buddy, cornerback. I played with in Philly, who was part of that Miami team when all this came out, and he made a couple comments on X regarding that whole situation and how it was so spun by the media and outside personality that it wasn't the reality of what was going on. And so he felt very strongly against the O lineman that was in question being bullied, on him kind of going back on his statement. Essentially, he was kind of perpetuating that. It seemed like a lie now, right? Going back into it, like, perpetuating that situation, the stigma of what it was and the actuality of it. And so he had very strong words going against that. And I guess a lot of players felt the same way of like, this guy is going out of his way looking for attention and creating a situation that wasn't really transpiring. Guys are gonna, crack jokes and, have fun and do things like that. I mean, you had some of the hazing stuff. I didn't have, when I first came into the league, we didn't have hazing, especially it was Pete Carroll's first year. He kind of really set the tone of not wanting to have guys hazed going on. And I think for him, it was like, we're gonna have a lot of young players playing for us. So he just didn't want them to mentally get distracted from that type of aspect going on initially. So we miss out a lot of normal NFL traditions, if you will, of being welcome and introduced into the NFL that we didn't necessarily partake in Seattle, just because of the whole new regime change and kind of creating a different kind of philosophy. But you have to have tough skin, being around these guys that are like your brothers. They're gonna give you a hard time, they're gonna bust your chops, and like it just comes with the kind of the territory. But I never seen anybody being bullied from whether I was in Seattle or New York and Philly and things of that nature. I've seen some guys that could be a little sensitive on some stuff of, when guys are just cracking jokes and some things, but never really, no initial bullying, trying to physically harm somebody
Right.
within that capacity. I've never seen that. I haven't really heard anyone talking about that. So when that kind of
and so
came,
the thing is that Jonathan happened to pick the perfect scapegoat because everyone knows Richie Incognito. Everyone knew that he was a cat that was going to say some things that were going to piss people off. He had done it in multiple game settings and on other teams. I mean, he was known to be that guy to give an extra push, to be just that kind of guy.
and I think that's what set him up on that, because
Yeah.
now you're taking a style of play, right, which is going literally to the whistles blown, type of style where it comes off, could be a little dirty-ish, but I think that aspect of his playing style rubbed off into the off-field type of situation, and I think he kind of got caught. His playing style became his persona of who he was in real life, and I think that's why a lot of the guys in the locker room felt so strongly about the guy coming out in that manner of like, I'm being bullied by Richie, when that was probably not the case.
Hey, and to make matters worse, and Bob, are you familiar with this whole scenario?
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. I've met Richie before. He's a Nebraska alum.
Oh,
so
there you go.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but real quick, and because I want to get your opinion, because this is completely different eras, and it's really interesting to hear what the locker room was like in your era. But if you are getting picked on, the last person you want calling the team or making a stink is your mom. I mean,
yeah,
you're 6'6", 340 pounds.
is that what happened? Is that what happened?
Mom is the one that raised the ruckus, going, my son is getting picked on and bullied, and he wants to quit or whatever. And I don't know beyond that. I'm speculating, but that's the gist of everything I've heard, read, and taken in. But we all know the locker room is a whole different dynamic. It's the things are done and said in there that aren't acceptable elsewhere.
Yeah.
We do. I was raised in Glendora, right? I didn't know about capping. I didn't know about how guys just bag on each other and talk about their moms, and I'm like, that was new to me. And I'm like, you're talking? Are you pissed at him? They're like, no, that's my brother. Yeah. But it was a thing, right? And I'm like, yeah. It took me a minute. It took me a minute to get acclimated to that, but then it was fun, and then I got it. But there are things that are done and said, but sometimes there's the alpha guys, and then there's the the ones that are a little weaker and they don't feel the confident in themselves anyways, and then you got somebody telling you suck and telling you this or telling you that, and then it's like you become the victim. But Bob, what was it like, locker rooms? I mean, back when you played, catchers smoking cigarettes and drinking a beer, right?
Yeah, it was pretty wild west.
Yeah.
And it's somebody asked me that earlier today, and I had to get up there, sing my alma mater at least once a week during training camp. I had to get veterans dinner on a tray for dinner and it, none of the rookies resisted it. It was just part of the orientation, and acceptance. And, I didn't mind doing it. I wanted to go through the ritual that they had gone through. And I know a lot of that but there was nothing like really abusive or anything. It's just, seeing and service, bring us something to eat.
Yeah, Chuck wasn't down with the rookie hazing. I guess it had gotten out of control when like the first year he was there, and he just laid down the law. Look, we ain't getting nothing out of this, because it was like a couple of the guys that you would know, but they did some stuff to some of these rookies in their dorms and like flooded their room or did something crazy. And made it miserable for them,
Yeah.
And so
the good one is you putting water in a trash can and leaning it on the door, and you knock on the door and they open it and it spills on their feet. That's a good one.
Well, see, wait, Bob, I don't know much. I learn stuff about Walt almost every time we get together. But that sounds like experience. That doesn't sound.
And it happened to me. I mean, it happened to me in college. Yeah.
So,
but to Bob's point, like someone gets you, and then you paid forward, to the next person, and so it's just part of the situation.
Yeah, that's what and I know it's been downsized significantly. I don't think they even do that anymore. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure.
I've seen cats singing. They're
okay.
singing.
All right.
But it's in fun, right? Everyone's
Yeah.
they're not doing it in their underwear. They're not doing it in a
No.
hazing setting. It's like you pick a song, and they're singing along with them. It's just and when it's done in fun, I mean, I can see it just brings you all together, right? You just learn something about that person, and then you have your brother supporting you and making it a good time. I did the whole rookie thing too. I had to take the guys out to dinner.
Yeah.
But it was neat. They knew I wasn't making any money. So like, Mike Wilson and Millard, Blair Bush, they're all slipping me hundreds because it was an expensive dinner, but because they're trying to get this other new guy to pay more.
Was EB still there? Was EB Edwin?
Oh yeah,
Edwin?
EB's been on the show. I
Good
love
guy.
Edwin Bailey.
He was a rookie, but my last year there, 81.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was so funny though, because when he was on the show, he was on his phone. And so we always saw was EB's cheek and ear the whole interview. He's walking around the house.
Yeah. He's a great guy, man.
Yeah. And he was telling us about his book. And then he spent 5 minutes looking for his book. I don't know where that doggone. I got a book somewhere. I'm like, hey, EB, it's okay.
I read that book. I didn't even know I didn't even know where I found, but I read it. It was a good read, and I didn't even know he wrote a book. I just popped
I don't think
up
EB does either.
It just popped up on it. Oh, I got this book. My name's on it.
Yeah, this must be mine.
So one of my hazing things was all right, rookie. And this was three of the guys. This was Mike Wilson, Ron Mattis, and Millard. And they go, we don't go on the bus to the home games. We like to get there an hour early. So you got to take us. And I'm like, oh, okay. I have a nice little, blazer. We all hop in there. And we're going across the bridge, and we're going, and there's all this traffic. Well, I grew up in LA, man. I know traffic, and I'm zooming, and we get to the stadium, and they were speechless, and they go, "You are freaking crazy, and we are never going anywhere with you again." They said we are so stressed out and fried, and I thought I was showing off and getting them there, so we had to sit in traffic. They go, "Yeah, you're fired, man."
Hey, I'm too good in traffic.
Hey, I do remember one thing that we pulled on the rookies. And it was either like 79 or 80. We told them all that they were giving out free turkeys.
Yes.
At a grocery store, like about 5 miles away. And they all went out there, man, and thought, where's the free turkeys? On Thanksgiving.
They were still doing that in 88.
Were they? Yeah,
so the guys took me under their wing. I don't know why they felt sorry for me. They knew I wasn't making any money, like I said, and so they go, "Hey, DeRocher," goes, "Look, they're going to tell you about some free turkeys. Don't go." I'm like, cool,
Yeah.
And then all the other, like the first rounders, like Brian Blades and all these guys going out there for their free turkeys, and they get a hard time.
That was a good one.
Yeah,
we got some good. Yeah, we all just laughed. They ended up laughing about it too.
Well, hey, Walt, did you get a free turkey your rookie year?
A free turkey?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay, so it was done by 2014, 2013.
Yeah. What was your first year, Walter?
2010 was my first year in Seattle. Yeah. See, I don't remember turkey though.
Won a Super Bowl with them, and then went on to the Eagles, right? Was it Eagles or Giants?
To the Giants, yeah. So did 4 years Seattle, then a year with the Giants, tore my pec, and then went a year with the Eagles, and then retired. Yeah.
Do you live in Seattle still?
No, I'm down in California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I live in Chino right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Bob's out.
I live in Palm Desert.
Okay, yeah. I seen you from Pomona, right?
Oh, that's where I was born. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good stuff.
California native.
Yeah. So what do you do out in Palm Desert now, Bob?
I'm semi-retired. I work a couple of days a week with a couple of clinics here and do some facilitate some groups and stuff, but mostly pretty semi-retired. I worked in the alcohol drug field for about 38 years, and I started retiring about 2010 and got bored, and I kept coming back to, to work a little bit, to have something to do. So, but
Well, there's always something to do in that field.
yeah, there is.
You know,
There is.
Now,
There is.
do you know Jeff Hatch?
God, that name sounds familiar, Dave.
So he was a New York Giant that got a little bit more involved in opiates than he wanted to. I think he was actually trafficking, but he works with a program in Oregon. He spoke. There's a program in Orange County here called Lifelines, and so he has spoke at that. And he's a great dude, and he's a great speaker. If it's okay with you, I send you my number. If you text me your number, I can connect you with them. And then, have you run into a guy by the name of Brett Drummond out there?
No, somebody asked me that somebody asked me that today. I had a guy over doing some work, and he goes, where did you work here? And I said, I worked for the Betty Ford Center for 15 years. And he asked me the same question. Did I know Brett Drummond?
How crazy. So I grew up with Brett Drummond. Yeah,
really?
Yeah. So Brett was a little spark plug guard, through junior high, and then he ended up on the hill, through high school. He was still kind of an athlete, but we had the smokers and the partiers that we called that they were up on the hill, and that's the route Brett took. But I know he's doing a lot of great work out there.
Yeah, that was a great experience working there. I got to meet Mrs. Ford a few times. She was a very, very nice lady, and really brought a lot of awareness to our society about addiction and alcoholism. And so it was there was a burnout phase, and a lot of compassion fatigue. I was kind of more like a coach. I wasn't real therapeutic as far as long as as soon as I found out enough information about them to get a feel if they were actually suffering from addiction.
Mm-hmm.
I would start trying to work with them very closely about dismantling any denial that they don't have a problem.
Right.
Because denial keeps people really blocked.
Yeah. And have you done any work with the NFL in that capacity?
Yeah, off and on. There's been a little bit. I was a consultant to the Seahawks for about. It might have been when you were there, Dave, and Walter. I'm not sure, but it was in the 80s or early 90s, and we did some workshops with the staff. I think Ken Behring had been there about 2 or 3 years. Trying to think.
He only owned it like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it was early on in because he's the one that hired us to do it.
Okay.
There was a treatment center up there called Lakeside Recovery Center, and we worked together to do and we just talked about family issues and alcoholism, how it affects the family and addiction. And at that time, there was quite a few, kind of minor episodes that was getting in the public, and alcohol was involved, and it was either staff or players getting DUIs or that kind of stuff. And so they wanted to take more of a proactive approach. So we did some education for them.
I'll tell you that we had guys, and everyone. I don't know why it went unchecked, but we had guys we knew they were going out at lunch and they're out smoking crack in their car and coming into. I mean, there's just sweating bullets, and we're watching film. It's air conditioned. It's like it couldn't get him to, and he's falling asleep. I don't know how that happens. I don't know if it was. I don't know, whatever. But there was all kinds of abuse going on. And and like I said, right in the locker room, just about. So
yeah, I was way out of control, David. An intern could have diagnosed me. Everybody on the team knew I had a problem, man. Yeah. Because I just, it just got worse each year, progressive, and
you didn't have a short career. I mean, you
10 years? I got 11 years in there. 5 with the Bears, 6 with the Seahawks. I mean, I was my last year there. I was almost late every Saturday morning in the Kingdom on Saturday practice before Sunday game. We just, go through the special teams and stuff. I was always an hour and a half late because I was too drunk I couldn't wake up,
No.
passed out.
Wow.
And so I think they started making plans when we went into the 82 season to replace me, and my drinking continued, and, sneaking out in Cheney, sneaking out of the dorm, going down to Showalters and keep drinking after curfew, and
Yeah.
just crazy. And then getting up that early in the morning in that sun with all the gear on, trying to, they had all these young guys around me. Shoot, man.
You're just
It
sweating.
was just a matter of time. Grandpa was going to be asked to go sit down, man. So, yeah.
You know what? I was going to say that's great, but it's not. But you know what's nice
I was
about it,
sick.
Bob, is that that's the real. That's the real of the league. That's especially back in a time when it wasn't as. I don't. People just didn't think about it. Now it's out there. Everyone knows, that there's those struggles, especially with the opiate issue.
Oh yeah.
And what we were doing, when I was in Montreal, I get done with it. The trainers are like, I want my Percocet and my Flexerel and my, whatever. And they, pour it in my hand and you're not going to drink, are you? Well, the Bats own the team. And across the whole back of the locker room is, 40 cases of Labatt Blue. Like, no, I'm not going to drink, So.
Well, the thing I missed a lot of that opiate stuff. I started getting a lot, but when I went into the NFL, amphetamines were very prevalent, and I took those on quite a few Sundays. Yeah, and well, we would call them Tokyo turnarounds too, because they were these big black capsules, and if you take one, you possibly could fly to Tokyo and just turn around and come back. So I mean, I had to drink myself to sleep after those things. But, the thing they make you so aggressive. I'd be out there in Soldiers Field playing with the Bears, and I'd hit somebody, and a lot of times I had a good hit, and I couldn't wait to watch film on Monday. We start watching film, and coach goes, that's a really good hit, Newton. It's the wrong guy, but it's a good hit, I couldn't think on that stuff, man.
No, I did the exact. I was at my third year at San Diego State, and same thing. It was practice, and I was like a backup to the backup. I was like third or whatever string. Well, the starter is out. They pull him out, and the backup's in. He gets hurt, and so I walk in as a left tackle, and I'm flying. And it was an OT, so I'm supposed to pull, and go and wrap around and kick out the backer on the front side of the play.
Yeah.
Hut, and I go straight out. DeRocher, what are you supposed to do on that play? I'm supposed to pull. Line it up. Hut, straight. DeRocher, get the hell out of the drill.
Yeah.
Last time I did that, so.
Yeah, it's they're they and like I was up all night sometimes, I mean, but in 72 is when they really started cracking down on that stuff, because up until 72 it was so prevalent, man.
Yeah.
Not the pain pills as much. Now we took a lot. We took a lot of Novocaine shots for injuries. And so that instead of the pain pills, but we take one before the game, one at halftime, depending on what it was. But that's how they kind of treated us.
Yeah, that's right. I was doing my last 2 seasons in Montreal. I was, like I said, 360 pounds. I had 22-inch arms, and just a big human, and I used it, right? I mean, I get that breastplate, and that's mine, and you can only do that with so many 300-pound guys for so long, and my elbows were getting torn up, so I used to have my elbows injected before
with the Novocaine.
Yeah, whatever it was.
Well, do they still do that?
I could lift my arms after the first quarter.
Do you think they? Yeah. Well, I know I had to have my left foot rebuilt about 12 years ago. It was
mangled. Well, yeah, you guys were wearing those seven cleaters, those 1.5-inch spikes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Shoot. And And then I kind of get a kick now when they call the games with if it gets a little cold or if it starts raining a little bit. Shoot, man, we played the Minnesota Vikings at the Metropolitan Stadium. It was 2 below zero and 25 below zero with the wind chill. And the freaking field was ice.
Nice. Yeah.
A lot of guys got frostbite.
Oh, damn.
Wow.
So I'm glad they've taken they're safer precautions, and quarterbacks, they're playing longer because of the rule changes and stuff, and I
Sure.
think that's because we know the fans love watching quarterbacks,
Right.
and so forth. But
Yeah, they don't have to wear neck braces like Grogan and some of those quarterbacks are wearing neck braces because they're getting.
Yeah, and our quarterback Bobby Douglas, he set the rushing record in 1972. He had 968 yards rushing as a quarterback.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and he would run right into people, man. He was a stud, about 6'6", 240. But
Josh,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Good
I
quarterback.
went to an event. I saw Josh Allen. Well, actually, it was a RX3 event with Aaron Rodgers, and I saw Aaron, and I had not ever met him. This was a few years ago, and I was frankly surprised. I mean, I didn't expect him to be like 6'4". He just doesn't look
that
it. He
big?
doesn't play it, but he is, And so I see Aaron Rodgers, and then there's Sam Darnold, who's also 6'4", 6'5", and then there's Leinart and Sanchez and some of these other SC quarterbacks, all 6'4", 6. And I'm like, being an offensive lineman, Bob, I'm used to walking into the huddle being the biggest cat, and I'm looking at quarterbacks eye to eye, and we're talking, and across the field, I see this tight end, hucking a ball. And I go, who's the tight end? They go, that's Josh Allen.
Is that right?
You're like
He is.
6'6", 250, man.
Yeah, he's big. He looks big. He's tough too.
Yeah.
How tall is the kid that Philly, the quarterback,
Jalen
Hurts? Is he very tall?
6'1", 6'2", maybe.
Yeah, 6'1", 6'2". Yeah.
Wow, man.
But he squats like 600 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does?
Yes.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So he and Saquon, I think he and Saquon are the two best squatters on the team, I think.
I wonder if they live
Crazy.
together. I wonder if they work out together. I bet they do.
Well, I didn't watch the clip, and I wish I try not to, get too much on this social media. I have to do a ton of it just for all my stuff I do, so I try not to get bogged down in it. But there was an interview with Saquon, and kind of saying about the who's a better squatter, and Saquon goes, "Oh, that's cute." It's like he's just saying, "I'm not even playing the game. I'm just telling you." I think he's like an 800-pound squatter. He's like uber strong in his lower body.
That is.
Well, anybody can hurdle a guy backwards on the playing field, twist, turn, and take off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Philadelphia had a good team, man. They had a great defense, good offensive line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they had the answers. That's for sure. And that was
what?
Yeah, it was one of those games where I don't know. I had a pretty good feeling. I know Walt busted out his Eagles jerseys and blew the dust off them. It was had the girls wearing them, and so. Do the girls wear your jerseys, Walt? Or are they too big for them?
No, I mean they're a little big for them. They actually were. They're actually at our in-laws at my wife's mother's father's house in Oregon. They're up in Oregon right now. So we got a little break.
Walter, who was your head coach when you were at Philly?
Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly?
Yeah, it was his last year. They let him go. Week 17, week 18, get the last game and let him go a week before.
Was it his first and last year? He wasn't there very long, was he?
No, I think he was there for maybe 4 years, 4 years. Yeah, he was there for. He was there for 4 years. I think he made the playoff. I think that was his fourth season. So I think the first 3 he made the playoffs. Those first 3 years, and they let him go just because of the whole Sean McCoy, Deshaun Jackson firing, and then some of the locker room stuff there. They went a different direction.
Was Chip Kelly just got hired somewhere recently, didn't he?
He's offensive coordinator for the Raiders.
Oh, that's right, the Raiders. Yeah,
Pete Carroll's with the Raiders as a head coach.
Yeah, making moves.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right,
that should
Bob,
be interesting.
So do you still follow the Hawks, Bob?
Yeah, from
All right.
afar, but I still follow them when I don't get their games here in LA. It's usually the Rams or the Chargers,
Yeah.
as much. But I keep on, I follow them. You
Right.
bet.
So we've had multiple discussions, one of which is our offensive line. I don't know if there's a short-term fix to it other than, some free agency or something. But what what's your feeling about the quarterback situation?
Uh,
Do you
well,
have a feeling?
now the kid Smith, right,
Yeah.
was a yeah, he got banged up last year quite a bit, didn't he? Or did he?
He got beat to heck. Yeah, because
Yeah, that's what
our
I thought.
offensive line, has had some struggles. Well, but we've been struggling up front since Walter Jones and Hutchinson.
Yeah, and they go through some really good lines, and then this is what I've heard from afar is that they won't pay him, and those guys go on. They won't pay him, and they go somewhere else and get the money, and
Right.
they have to start all over building that line again.
Yeah.
That takes time. You know that, man. That's
Yeah.
a hard unit to build. Consistency and cohesiveness, and
Well,
takes time.
and we've seen it with Kansas City. I mean, their interior three linemen are all pros, but their two tackles struggle. And what
Oh,
happened? Mahomes was running for his life.
Yeah.
So it's more than just one cat. I mean, it
you bet.
is a unit, like all five are one, and
You
it's
bet.
like it exemplifies you're only as strong as your weakest link. I mean, that is like defines an offensive line.
Yeah,
Because
that's
they'll
why
find
I
that
was.
weakness and then they'll line up their stud over them. And so Andy Heck is the old line coach for the Chiefs.
Oh, is he? Is he?
Yeah. So he's been there at least 5 or 6 years. Because between this show and another show I do, we go to the Super Bowl. We're on Radio Row all week, and so for the last 2 Super Bowls, we've gone to opening night, and I've been able to see Andy. So he was drafted my second year. And he stayed with me for a couple of days until he found a place. So it was really cool running into him
I bet.
last year. And he goes, "Yeah, I've got 4 Super Bowl rings here," and I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then this year I ran into him. I go, "Andy, you had to work this year because your tackle." He goes, and he's so quiet. He just downplays everything. He goes, "Yeah, it was a little rough." I'm like, "Bro, I mean, it's bad."
Yeah, the left tackle was struggling. I don't know his name was.
Yeah. Well, no, because he's a guard. He's
Oh,
an
is he the
all-pro
guy they
guard.
had to move out? They had to move
Uh-huh.
out to tackle.
They moved him out to tackle because their left tackle that was supposed to be their left tackle really struggled. And so they moved him out from guard. Like I say, he's an all-pro guard. His name's eluding me. And then their right tackle has got. I go, "What's up with the stance of that right tackle? It is like his right foot's behind his left. It's like so narrow and elongated back." He goes, "Yeah, we changed it." And I'm like, I didn't feel like telling him. It ain't working because
I had a great. When I was at Seattle, I had a great line coach, Howard Mudd. I had Sam Bogosian one year, and then Howard Mudd, who was he there when you were still there, Dave?
No, Kent Stevenson.
Yeah, okay. Kent was, but
Yeah.
great technician, former player. But Philadelphia had a great offensive line, man. I thought that all year they played pretty well.
Pretty solid. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Good
There's always
unit.
the big question, of course, was Kelsey leaving. But that center has, he has stepped right in and replaced him as the anchor. I mean, he's like,
He's a Nebraska kid too.
well, there you go.
Cam Jurgens.
Yeah.
Cam
Them
Jurgens.
Nebraska guys, man, they spit out some O linemen.
No, for sure.
Yeah. He might that when I was a California transfer there, man. And let me tell you, I was out of place. I was out of place in Nebraska. When they recruited me and they flew me in there, it was like 3 degrees. And back in 69, they didn't have tarmacs. You had to walk off the plane, then you had to walk about 50, 75 yards inside the airport. Coach Osborne and Coach Ross are waiting there for me and this other guy named Bob Terrio. And I gave Coach Osmond the dirtiest look I could come. Like, I am never coming back here. I had a mustache and it had icicles on it. And I'd never been out of Southern California. I had never experienced weather like that, man. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Well, I share this story whenever I get an opportunity, Bob. So I went to San Diego State. You said you were close to going.
Yeah.
The weather was so nice, and I remember on a couple occasions it started raining, and the coaches go, "Take it in."
Really?
Yeah. We'll pick it up tomorrow. Because it never rained. It was just, I was like,
No, it was a different. I ended up loving the people of Nebraska and loving, the football program and everything, but it took a while.
Yeah.
We were kind of an experiment of recruiting Californians too, because they didn't recruit California because they knew. But then we started getting because of the weather,
Yeah.
Yep. Well, hey guys, it's an hour. Bob, we've been kind of exchanging a little bit of some stuff on Facebook. I appreciate you coming on. It was awesome meeting you. I'd like to throw this out that your program's out there, any program out there. I've shared my story the last 4 years in Super Bowl events called Heart of the Champion, and I share it at various programs. And if it makes sense, I'd love to come out and talk to the kids or anybody that's out there in your programs.
You bet. You're in Orange County, Dave?
Orange County.
Yeah, you bet.
So
in fact, I'm going to Orange County. Huh?
I sent you my number in that chat deal.
Yeah.
Shoot me a text and we'll stay in contact.
I'm going to the trust program this weekend to get overhauled. Have you had that physical that they offer players?
I have. It's this weekend. Where is it?
It's at Newport. It's at Hoag Hospital.
Oh, is it Hoag? Did you know
that's where they have it? That's where they have it. Have you done it, Walter? Have you done
the full brain body assessment?
Yeah.
I have done that. You want to tell me about that, Dave? Weren't you?
Yeah. So there's varying levels of it. Some, for the trust is like for 2 years or more vested guys.
Is that what it is?
More comprehensive one. Then there's mind and body, which is they do checkup stuff. They do some heart stuff and different things. But I think the one Bob's talking about is a more in-depth one.
Yeah, I think it's head to toe.
It's a 2-day. It's a 2-day one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's from head to toe. They do.
I did do that because you have to go every 5 years. I think it is
every 5 years. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. Dave, we'll stay in touch, man.
Fantastic. Like I said, pleasure having you on. Thanks for hopping on with us.
Yeah.
Always good seeing you, brother. Hey, did you guys win tonight?
We did. Yeah, we did.
Season opener?
I'm coaching softball right now.
You're coaching softball?
Yeah, with the wife and I at West Covina High School. So I kind of
cool.
we have an ongoing joke right now that it's I started out my high school coaching. I coached golf for 4 years.
Really?
And then got into I got girls flag football this past season, and then a couple of the girls wanted me to come coach softball because they had just let their coach go. And so the ongoing joke is, how many sports can I play or coach before I coach football? So
I just want to know.
Cool, man.
I just want to know
cool.
This one though. This one has a whole new dynamic to it, and that is that you're doing it with your wife. I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know if you could stay married. Coaching.
Hey, it's
really?
We've done some different like work stuff together.
Yeah.
And this is by far the easiest work stuff that we were doing together for sure.
Good.
Because she grew up. She's a big athlete, big into sports. She grew up playing softball, travel ball. Could have played college ball. So like sports is one of those common denominators where we thrive in that situation. So it's been fun though.
Well, hey guys, all right, we got to wrap it up. Hey guys, if you're watching, come check us out on Hawk Talk 12. We have Hawk Talk 12 Facebook, Hawk Talk 12 Instagram, and our new channel is on YouTube. And so even though you subscribe to Sideline Sports, where we've been for the last year and a half, we've moved it all over to YouTube, Hawk Talk 12. So subscribe, follow us. You'll get to hang out with cool cats like Bob and we'll see you all next week. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
See you guys.
I think we're still here. Okay, no, we're not.